Hello, everyone. This is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Believe in Packers, sponsored by FanDuel here on the Believe Network. So let's get into the quick recap of the big win against the Vikings. I say divisional rivalry matchup that didn't look too divisional or too rivalry. I'll say that. So the Packers picked up another crucial NFC North win at Lambeau Field, improving to a 7-3-1 record in a gritty beat 'em up type game because JJ McCarthy, the young running back or young quarterback from Michigan, drafted to Vikings, missed his rookie year. So this is his rookie year, and it felt like a rookie game. I believe Green Bay Packers basically threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. So gritty victory over the Minnesota victory over the Minnesota Vikings. So coming, and then the Packers also remember they came off a 2-game skid, battling some injuries. So Green Bay once again leaned in on the toughness and the leadership of Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and even Christian Watson going out there and making big plays. So Jordan, who played a big role in through playing through a short shoulder, as you saw when he got hit by the linebacker, and also delivered when it mattered most. So just like he did in the win over the Giants. So team is understanding what they got to do to get to the playoffs right now. So Love threw two touchdowns, including a go-ahead score to Christian Watson in the fourth quarter, showcasing his poise, his under the pressure, despite some of the drops, some of the protection issues, and some of the banged up of his supporting cast. We saw Josh Jacobs go out early with the knee injury and then back up or go out, not even come out in this game, excuse me. But in that, Emmanuel Wilson coming off the bench, next man up mentality to come in and play some solid football again. So punching in a key touchdown and keeping the offense balanced, because without the run game, the pass game means nothing. So the Packers defense, though, despite injuries with Quay Walker from last week and Nate Hobbs, made stops when needed, highlighted by Evan Williams, a clutch interception to close the game out. So Green Bay also overcame more special teams issues, miscues, including 2 missed extra points, but found enough grit to seal another tight divisional win. And it's going to be tight for the rest of the season because we got some more big games. We got Detroit coming up. We'll be talking about that here in a second here on the quick recap going into Thanksgiving Day game here. So now sitting at 7-3-1, the Packers move into a massive showdown with the Detroit Lions sitting at 7-4, a battle of the NFC North positioning between two teams with playoff aspirations and rising momentum for both teams, because the Detroit Lions, they had a great overtime victory with my man Gibbs knocking in a home run hitter, takes it to the house on the first play in overtime. So we'll talk about it in a minute. So the game for itself, as I wrap this up, it wasn't perfect, but it was Packer football. It was tough, it was gritty, and just enough to get the win. And this is not college football where you got to impress the posters or anything like that. So now we have our eyes, not we, but them guys up in Lambeau have their eyes on the Detroit Lions. So with that being said, we'll head into that matchup again. 7-3-1 versus 7-4 Detroit Lions coming in. So as the race tightens for this Sunday, Green Bay will be hosting Detroit. Green Bay. I'm sorry. What I'm talking about? Detroit hosting Green Bay in Detroit. Sorry about that. So both teams have a lot at stake here. So Packers continue to have to win to keep that playoff positioning there and then control the division come December. So Alliance wins, flips the race wide open. So let's break down a little bit of everything and things that matter heading into this showcase in Ford Field that's going on here next weekend. This I say tomorrow. Actually, in 2 days. Sorry, it's Tuesday. I'm like all over the place. So here we go. Coming off, so the Packers, like we just talked about with the Vikings game, coming off a tough stretch there. We had two losses. We got the win going into this game, and on top of the win, key games from late behind. Jordan Love having good gameplay, good poise, good confidence within himself. Offense still a little bit inconsistent at times, especially with some of the injuries. That's more of an injuries than Zach Tom with the back. We know free agent signee defense or tackle or guard from San Francisco. trying to get back in there, getting the range, rotating, right? But Watson coming back from the knee injury, playing fantastic the several weeks. So difference right now, defense remains elite. They're 6th overall versus, and then 7th versus the run, 10th versus the pass. So Green Bay has allowed 24 points or fewer in 12 straight home in 12 straight games, excuse me. And so right now, 7-4 Lions, they got a high-powered offense. We know I just mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs took it to the crib, first play overtime, tied or broke some of Barry Sanders' records there. So they got a top 10 in offense in yards and scoring, top 10 offense in yards and scoring. But it's defense that's become vulnerable because of the same reason as the offensive line for the Packers has been vulnerable, injury. So against both explosive plays and power runs, they could be there. Emmanuel Wilson, we might get Josh Jacobs back too, so that's going to be a big deal right there. So coming off of uneven performances and beginning to show cracks in some of the pass protection and secondary coverages that Detroit has. So with that, that's where I said where all the injuries they're having on their back end, corners, safeties being hurt, linebackers being hurt, that's where Detroit is struggling. And they haven't, but they're adjusting. They're a good team. They're a good leadership team between Campbell and then they got Jared Goff on the offensive side of the ball. Amon St. Brown, great leader in itself, hard worker. Not much rattles them on the football field. They know how to play ball. So some of the key matchups here, that's going to be something to check out for Thursday's game. 11 o'clock kickoff Eastern. So we got Jordan Love versus the Lions secondary, and like I just mentioned, Jordan and his receivers might have a little advantage. So Detroit's pass defense has struggled, right? Allowing some big plays and ranking near the bottom of the league in some of the coverage metrics there. So if Christian Watson continues his hot streak, expect some big shots from Jordan Love down to him to Jordan with Jordan Love down to Christian down the field because he'd be able to, his speed is sort of, all the confidence is coming back, all that just wanting to be on the field is getting back to him and him understanding what he can and what he can and can't do on that field is coming back to him. And he is with his speed factor is also a problem. But then the guy who's always been there and catching the balls and never once, looking right out there, Romeo Doubs continues to be Mr. Reliable. In the intermediate game, we know he could always get open. He had a few drop passes last week, but obviously there's competition, and some of them, he'll own up to it. He'll pat his chest. That was on me. So, but most of the time, he's going to show up when the ball is there in his hands and catch it and help Jordan and that offense go down the field. So then also Love must protect the football because Detroit, that's what they do. They thrive off of turnovers. They'll get in the backfield, try to sack him, try to punch that ball out. Even with Jacobs and even with Wilson and any receiver catching the ball, they got to understand when the DBs are coming in, what Aaron Glenn used to coach them before he became the head coach with the Jets is first man in there, wrap it up, second man in there, try to punch the ball out. So another big matchup we got to watch. Emmanuel Wilson, Josh Jacobs. So Packer running backs versus the Lions defensive front. We got Hayden Christensen in there coming around the edge. So with Josh Jacobs nursing that bruised knee, so we'll see if he'll be back this weekend. Right now, I think he's questionable. Wilson could be the feature back again, so that's going to be huge. So Wilson has those fresh legs a little bit, got that burst, and is running with confidence. I like the way he hit the hole. I watched the plays last week where he was, getting the ball, and he was very patient. He was letting the offensive line get to their run fits, and that means getting the linemen once the ball is snapped, getting them to get to their assignments. If it's the left guy on the right side, if the guy on the right side of the ball is his protection and responsibility, his protection responsibility, Emmanuel did a good job of letting that guard, that tackle, or that center get to that guy and not run in front of him or too fast to let him get to that block and secure it and to let him open up the gaps for him. The offensive line opened up gaps. So he did a good job with that. So Detroit's run defense shows some leaks right here. So this might be a game where we can get the run game really going against a team that usually you can't do that against. But now with Green Bay having an opportunity to do this with maybe two good backs in there, we'll see if, like I said, Jacob shows up in the game. Green Bay can control the tempo on the ground here. So And then a matchup on the our side of the ball, I say defensive side of the ball, Marker Parsons versus Jared Goff and that offensive line for the Detroit Lions. So Goff has struggled badly under pressure. He's not a scrambling quarterback. He is a pocket passer. So especially in you know, getting that pressure on him, make sure that you continue to move Micah around. I love what Hatley is doing, putting them in different scenarios, lining them up on the center, lining them up on the guard, or lining them up at linebacker coming off the wide 9 edge. When you do that to an offensive line, trust me, they always looking everywhere, and they already have a lot of job they have a lot of tasks to do to make sure before the ball is snapped, everybody knows where they're blocking and who they're blocking. And when you don't know where number one is out on the football field, that is a problem. So continue to make that an issue for any offensive line, especially the Detroit offensive line, because they're the next line up right now. Make that a problem for them. So, like I mentioned, Parsons has been leading the NFL with 52 pressures and will be a difference maker in this game. So look for the big stunts, like I mentioned, overloads and isolated matchups between him and the center guard to give Goff the opportunity to make mistakes, to make Goff make mistakes out there in the football field. And so then you look at the defensive backfield, you got McKinney versus Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it won't just be McKinney, it'll be McKinney and crew, the defensive backfield for the Packers, giving Amon-Ra some issues, maybe some bracketing coverage there to make sure that guy doesn't get rolling as well. Because Jared Goff, you keep him, isolated, put the pressure on him, but then also taking his receivers away. Even though he's a good quarterback, knows how to spread the love around. No play on words there, but Goff knows how to spread the ball around to keep him from doing that as well, by taking one, maybe two of his favorite receivers, Amon-Ra Williams as well. That's the speedster. So if they do that, they could keep him from being a problem in the run game. And St. Brown's Detroit engine, can get limited. You can disrupt his rhythm, in the sense, because you don't see him get frustrated. But I would love for this defensive backs to get Amon-Ra frustrated, because then he's off his game in itself. So right there, let's go real quick, switch over to the injury game. What's going on with injuries? Like I mentioned, for the Packers, we got a lot here. We got Jacob, he's questionable right now with the knee. Jaden Reed and Nate Hobbs are out right now. Quay Walker is doubtful, I believe, with the concussion. Golden and Van Ness questionable, and McManus expected to play. He has, I think it was the quad injury from last week. He's still nursing that, getting back there on the field. And then with the Lions, so key defensive starters have been banged up. No particular, none names given, but just right now we know they're banged up, particularly in the secondary, which is good. Monitor the status of some of the offensive line pieces, as well as Detroit's pass protection has been a little bit inconsistent. So injuries will test Green Bay's depth, especially wide receiver rotations and linebacker play too, with having Quay Walker out of the game. All right, so what's the biggest part? We talked about this at the start of the podcast, right? What's the biggest stakes? What's going on here between the Packers and the Lions? This is winner takes control of the NFC North heading into December here. You still have the Chicago Bears sitting at 8-3 though, so it's going to be a nice little bottleneck come December after this weekend, right? So Detroit can tie season series, because Green Bay got the win earlier this year. We saw in a dominating fashion. So Green Bay can create separation if they get the win here. All right. So playoff seeding implications, large. I said loom large here. So the difference between a home game and a traveling wild card weekend makes a big difference. Sometimes it can be a mental thing, but you don't want to let it be, even if it does become that. You got to play through that. So this is the closest Lions and Packers division battle, I say, in a long time. And it's fun, because that means we're going to get good football. And then after Thanksgiving, it's college football the rest of the way. So here, real quick, my keys to victory here for this Packer Lions game. One, don't let Detroit dictate tempo early. That means you control. Offensively, defensively, we run the ball. Defensively, we make them pass the ball only, or we take that away too, where we getting pressure on Jared Goff, and keep it Amon-Ra busy and pestered by covering corners that they can't be in that defensive backfield, and then win on third down. So both offensively and defensively, crucial all season. Win the third down. That means 3 and out with the defense. Continue to get first down after first down after first down. Even when it's third and long, make sure you have a play call starting with LaFleur that gets pushed over to Jordan and the offense, and then they make the adjustment because we know Detroit is not going to make this easy at all. Being out there on the football field. But when it's third down and short or third down and long, we got to make those conversions because that then creates momentum to get the ball down in the end zone, and then it keeps that confidence up in both sides of the ball and everybody standing on the Packers sideline. So, and some I mentioned already, pressure Goff. He's not a scrambling guy. So he can get out of harm's way, but keep it on him. Parsons and the crowd noise that we could have there in Detroit, in Ford Field. We could have a little bit of Packer fans in Michigan. It's not far away, so keep that up. That's a formula for mistakes where you have a crowd that we could hopefully take over the stadium. But if anything, we got Michael Parsons and crew, Rashard Gary, those guys getting in the backfield, creating problems, coming up with a lot of different ET stunts and tackle simulations going on, tackle situations going on between the defensive line. You do that, you give opportunity to give Jared Goff a long day on a long morning here on Thursday. And then the last two here, explosive plays between Dobbs, and Wilson. And if Jacobs play too, we need chunk gains, big plays to stretch Detroit out because Detroit plays physical and that's why they're beat up. So continue to give them that physical element by making the big plays. That means offensive line pulling out, getting downfield, blocking downfield, blocking defensive back. Trust me, defensive backs do not want to get hit by a 300 and something pound tackle or guard running a screenplay downfield or a wide receiver cracking back on them, getting a good legal block. They don't want that because they get tired real quick. Beat them up. Let's do that. And then the last one, finish drives. You can't settle for field goals because that's what Detroit, they're going to do the same to you. They want to go down there and punch you in the chest and get the ball punching in the end zone and then get the PAT. So no field goals here. When we get in the ball in the end zone, make sure that we are scoring touchdowns because that sends a message that deflates the momentum as well for the opposing team. And then Dan Campbell has to go deep into his treasure chest because they will pull out some trick plays here because I've seen Detroit do this before in this matchup. So touchdowns win games and the divisional games. So make sure you know that. So keep them out of the end zone. And so with this game, my prediction of this game coming up, it's going to be a tough one. I'll say that. The game comes down to physicality, composure. Green Bay's defense at home is one of the best units in football. In Detroit. On the road, they have been good on the road as well. So Jordan Love is, gotten stronger every week in confidence, and the team offensively is doing that. So Packers can run the ball and force Goff into panic moments, which I don't think is going to be panic, but it's going to be more of pushing him in situations because he's trying to get out of harm's way. It stays in Green Bay's chances to win. So this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to pick my Packers. I'm going to pick our Packers, but they're not going to walk away with this easy. It's going to be 27-20 because they already beat them once before, but then a few injuries, guys that may or may not be on that football field that was in the first win, Josh Jacobs, for example. If he's not there, you got a different look with Emmanuel Wilson, who hasn't run the ball a whole lot against the Lions, but still is the next man up. Hopefully he keeps that mentality, and I say that gives him confidence to go out there, run, and momentum. And so that will be the difference. I say they get this win, they take control of the North, and then the rest is up to them for the rest of the games. So we have the Bears twice, we have Baltimore coming up, and the Vikings one more time in Minneapolis. So, and actually Denver too. And we know how feisty that team is with Bo Nix. So we got a good slate of games coming up, but also it starts with this Thursday, Thanksgiving kickoff at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So it's going to be some good football going on for our Packers. They're going to come away with the win. So this is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, signing off here on BLEAV Network, sponsored by FanDuel. So I appreciate y'all, and go Pack, go. Peace.